Today we have John Lee on the podcast. He's an IFBB pro bodybuilder and the owner of Jaws Fit Coaching, where he helps men build chiseled abs and double their strength. He has a degree in kinesiology from the University of British Columbia. John qualified as an IFBB pro, which is very prestigious in the bodybuilding space, by winning the overall title at the NPC North American Championships in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 2019. He actually got first overall out of over 200 competitors. He also, this past year in 2022, earned second place in the pro division in the IFBB Vancouver Pro Show, which if he would have gotten first, he would have qualified for the Olympia in the classic physique division. And he also placed in this last year third in the Chicago Pro Show and fourth in the Texas Pro Show. So this is all to say he obviously walks the walk. In addition to talking the talk, has achieved things at a very high level with his body and with fitness in general. So we're very excited to have him on the show and talk more about body transformation. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So one thing I want to ask as well is, so your coaching is called Jaws Fit Coaching. So where did the nickname Jaws come from?
Yeah. So whenever I dive down for a competition, my jawline typically gets very chiseled and like sculpted. So I just got a nickname from my friends that you have a really chiseled jawline, and I just kind of rolled with it and called myself Jaws from that point, and then I created a company out of it.
Nice. Yeah, for those that don't know, when you're dieting down for a bodybuilding show, a lot of times you see it in your face first. You know, anyone who's listened to this, anytime you lose weight, you usually lose weight in your face first. So that's what John is referring to. But yeah, John, I mean, everyone obviously looks at you right now and they're like, he's this huge guy. And just as a frame of reference for people, I want you to give them just so people can understand like how big and how muscular you are. And I've met John in person as well, and he is a big, strong guy. So what is your current height and what is your current weight?
Yeah, so I'm 5'5" and 3/4. Every inch counts. And weighing at about, when I'm competing, around 177 to 180.
Gotcha. And what are you like right now in the off season?
Currently 210 pounds.
Okay. And so John, just as a frame of reference, he's 5'5" and 3/4, 210 pounds, and that's like mostly muscle. So obviously a very big muscular guy has definitely mastered, building muscle. So obviously it hasn't always been this way. There's always been a journey to get here. So I want to go through your story. So what were things like growing up for you as a kid, and how did you get into fitness?
Yeah. So, I was raised in a middle class, upper class family. That being said, I definitely had a lot of things handed to me on a silver platter. I was a little bit of a spoiled kid, not going to lie. And growing up, I just, I took a lot of things for granted, right? And I didn't really take life seriously. So growing up, I didn't take school seriously. I didn't take, my personal development seriously. I was a very lazy kid, and I guess you can call myself even a degenerate. And when I got into university, I barely made it in. And in high school, the only thing that I did have a little bit of passion for, or a little bit of interest in, like putting a little bit of my heart and soul into something, was like sports. And I played competitive volleyball in the high school team and in a club team. I played recreational basketball. And my favorite class in school was physical education. So that's when I decided to apply for the bachelor's degree in kinesiology at UBC. So I decided to pursue that, either to become a physio or, possibly a chiropractor. That in my head was the intention when I first enrolled into the program. And then as I got into it, learning the courses with science and all that, I just was not interested in that. So, I really wanted to be an athlete. That was in my head where I wanted to, the direction I wanted to take with my career, I guess. And that's when I decided to try out for the varsity volleyball team. But, being 5'5", you really don't have much of a chance to compete with other guys who are like 6 feet plus. So I didn't make the cut. And as a result of that, I had a lot of I guess, pent up energy, or yeah, I guess a lot of uh, direction that I didn't, a lot of energy inside me that I didn't have direction to put it towards, right? And that's when I just fell into lazy habits of just partying and going down vicious cycles of just like, smoking weed, hanging around the wrong crowd. And that was my life for the first year in university. And pretty much throughout that whole year, all I did was wake up, smoke a joint, play video games, go to school but not pay attention, and fail some classes. So that was like the pattern for the whole year, and pretty much, yeah, I just lived that life of a degenerate lifestyle for that year, freshman year. And after the first year, I gained like 40 pounds. All I did was just play video games, eat a lot of junk food, and yeah, that was kind of like the first year of my life where I felt like I hit rock bottom almost.
Wow. So if I can hold it here a second. So, you gained 40 pounds freshman year. You said you fell into some habits. Like, what were other people saying at this point? Like your family and everything else? Like, how did everyone feel?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, my family didn't realize what was going on behind the scenes. Like, just thought I was like this, golden child because I was playing sports, made it to university, but they didn't really know what kind of grades I was getting, right? In university, like I was hiding the fact I was failing school. So they thought I was a good child, right? Leading up to the point where at the end of the school semester, I was at a party, and I made very bad decisions throughout the whole year. And at this party, I made a very one, vital decision, like nearly fatal decision of drinking and driving. And after that night, I nearly killed myself, and I could have. I got into a car accident where the car was totaled. Luckily, I got out of the situation without any injuries, because it was at like 3 a.m. at night, and I, collided into like the sidewalk, and I took out like 20 meters worth of like wooden fence. My car was like spinning multiple times, and yeah, so I didn't collide into another car, but if that happened during the daytime, I would have. Or let's say if someone was walking on the streets, you know, I would have possibly collided into people. And like thinking that through my head, I like that day actually like broke down crying because I was like, you know, where am I going with my life, right? And I didn't know what direction I was going with all these bad decisions I was making. So after that day, it was kind of like a slap to my face, a wake up call, right? And from that point on, I told myself I can't continue going down this direction. So that's when I decided to stop drinking, stop smoking weed, stop partying. Had to cut out some friends. And a week later, I got myself a gym membership, and that was really kind of like the start to the whole journey.
Wow. I mean, clearly that accident was a big wake up call. And were you in the car by yourself?
I was fortunately.
Okay. So you mentioned that obviously thankfully, right, you didn't get hurt or hurt anyone else. But you mentioned that it was kind of a wake up call for you. So did you like come you said like you cut out all those things, the drinking, the partying, the smoking, like some of your friends. Like did you just like how quickly after that happened did you decide to do those things? And like how did the other people around you respond? Like were they, just kind of egging you on? Did you just like stop communicating with them? Because I think a lot of people, who have had tough situations like find that part difficult. So how did you like come to that decision?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough decision for me because I obviously liked my friends. It's just I knew that they were dragging me into that situation in the first place where I would be, partaking in those bad habits, right? So for me, I had to kind of distance myself. And I think one part that helped me distance myself from them was, after that day, my parents finally like, knew the like what was happening behind the scenes, or but behind the curtains, right? So at that point, like they were very strict about, who I hung out with, what I did, etc. And that being said, like, I abided by those rules. I pretty much was grounded for like the whole like summer after that semester. And that whole summer, all I did was just train, really. And so yeah, I think what it comes down to ultimately is the people that you surround yourself with. right? If your circle is a bunch of people who are partying, most likely you're going to be partying. So what I did during that whole summer was just surround myself with people inside the gym, and just started making friendships with people inside the gym, and that's kind of how this whole entire journey for me started.
So how did you choose fitness as your outlet after this? Were you already working out like at all your freshman year? Like were you already eating healthy previously? Like how did you decide on fitness?
Yeah. So as I told you before, I was very devoted to sports, and while I was playing sports, I did a little bit of lifting. Right, it was kind of like something to supplement my sports. Now, because I couldn't make it to the varsity team, and I didn't have the chance to actually become a pro sports athlete, the only other thing I really knew that was kind of fitness related was kind of lifting weights, strength training, and then I guess over time bodybuilding. And then once I got myself that gym membership, all I became obsessed about was building muscle, was getting stronger, was how to dial in my diet to kind of sculpt my physique. And then I just fell into this like rabbit hole of research, learning everything I could about nutrition and training and the science of everything. And yeah, eventually just kind of fell in love with it.
Love it, love it. So for you, you kind of just did some stuff on your own, and then you just fell into it, and started going down that rabbit hole and learning everything that you could. So what were you like? What was your, if you're okay with me asking again, like what was your weight? You said you had gained 40 pounds freshman year. What was your weight at that point, right before you began your fitness journey?
Yeah. So prior to university, I was around like probably buck 40, buck 50. I wasn't like, I was a lot skinnier for sure. So after first year, I think I jumped up to 190 to 200, something along those lines. So I didn't have any muscle though, keep in mind. So it's like 190 of just literally fat, right? So that's nothing compared to my 210 right now.
Right. So you were like 190, 200 pounds of mostly body, like a lot of body fat at that point. So after you started training for a while, like, well, first of all, like, did it feel uncomfortable for you to like go to the gym at first after you'd gained that much body fat, or did you feel kind of like you fit in right away?
Uh, to be honest, like I always had a little bit of confidence in myself. So, and like I said, I did train like prior to gaining all that weight before, so I kind of had a little bit of experience inside the gym. And to be honest, after getting back into the gym and carrying all that extra weight, I was getting strong really quickly. So I felt like I just kind of fit in right away and started to really trend in the right direction with my progress.
Got it. So how long did it take you to go from like, 190, 200 and fluffy to starting to put on some muscle?
Yeah. So the moment I started training, I trained up for about a year on my own, like not knowing anything, pretty much chicken and broccoli diet, an hour cardio every day, right? 20 minutes on the treadmill, 20 minutes on the elliptical, just experimenting, not knowing exactly anything, right? So that was going on for about, let's say like six months to up to a year, just like trial and error. And then finally I hired my own coach. Because yeah, like I knew I needed a little bit more mental what to do. So I was able to do things correctly. And once I hired my coach, he kind of taught the ins and outs of macros, progressive overload, how to avoid fatigue to continue getting stronger. And then yeah, from that after that year mark, we worked together for 8 months. And then after 8 months, I got myself in the best shape of my life, and I stepped on stage for the first time.
Wow. And how old were you when you stepped on stage for the first time?
Yeah, so I started training. So I got into university at 18. After that 1 year of degeneracy, I started lifting. At 19, I started my fitness journey. And after pretty much 2 years, so I was 21 when I stepped on stage for the first time.
Okay. And how much did you weigh when you stepped on stage for the first time?
Extremely light. It was like 146, 147.
146, 147. Okay. So you'd basically at that point lost like a good 50 pounds.
I lost 50, exactly 50 pounds.
And then also obviously put on some muscle in the process. So I'm sure you probably lost even more body fat, but then also put on some muscle too.
Right.
Okay. So now that's what I was going to ask too, is like, was it just kind of a natural transition to like go into bodybuilding, or what piqued your interest in like getting into bodybuilding?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when I started my fitness journey, bodybuilding wasn't even something that I considered to pursue. I think it was just more so me loving training. right? And eventually I trained long enough and understood the science of it, of training and nutrition, where I really started to see the potential I had with my physique. And I was just kind of dieting eventually to a point where I saw that I had really good, muscle bellies. I had good shape, and I had good progression of muscle growth. And then I was just kind of chatting it up with my coach, and I was, kind of figuring out if, or my ex-coach, but figuring out if I, had a good chance at competing. And then we both decided like I have the potential, I have the genetics, and that's when we decided to plan for a show. Um, and yeah, just kind of went all in from there.
Okay. So when you were, and sorry, you said you were 21 when you competed in your first bodybuilding show. So how did you go from like, just starting to compete in bodybuilding? Now, obviously you're an IFBB pro. Like what were kind of the next steps for you after that first bodybuilding show?
Totally. So the after the first bodybuilding show, that was because prior to that, I was still kind of building my credit back from my parents more so. So after that bodybuilding show, I finally felt like I was going down the right direction of where I should be going with my life. And at the time, I was still in school actually. And the moment that I started pursuing bodybuilding, in my head, I was just like, I don't really want to become a physio anymore. I don't really want to become a chiropractor anymore. So I decided to like just go into like I guess they call it interdisciplinary studies in whatever stream that is in university, just to finish my degree, make my parents happy, and started pursuing coaching. So after that first show, I started to take on clients to help them get in shape. And then after I think a few years, I really started to kind of build some momentum with my own personal coaching. At the time, I was still working as a representative inside a gym, and then eventually I got into personal training where I was training clients in person. And yeah, during that time, I was competing during the time I was coaching people, and I decided to climb up the ladder with the competitions, right? Because I knew I had the potential, so I just kept trying to compete at a higher level, one step at a time, at a higher level. And at that time, I was like competing as a natural, so it was I was like focused on primarily natural bodybuilding, competing against guys who were enhanced because back then they didn't really have many natural organizations. They didn't have the natural stream. Nowadays they do. So for me to compete, like it was very hard for me because I was like die hard natural. I didn't want to touch anything, right? Because like I just that was the way I was I guess nurtured growing up into bodybuilding, right? And yeah, I didn't want to touch it. So the second show I did, I competed in a show that was like an open show, which means there's no testing. And I competed, I stepped on stage, and I actually won the overall and beat the guys who were enhanced.
Wow.
So when that happened, I knew that that was like if I can beat guys who were enhanced while I was natural, I have really good potential.
Wow.
That's not easy, So when that happened, I'm like, okay, maybe I can go all into this. Maybe I can pursue my pro card, and then I just kind of kept going from there.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. And, for people who are, enhanced or taking steroids versus you at the time were just natural and had the work ethic and discipline to obviously be able to beat them. So like, what did your training, like what did your nutrition look like at this point when you were first kind of coming up in bodybuilding?
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie. There are still things I was learning back then that I've made mistakes on back then that I could like now that I reflect back, I could have done better. So back then it was all about progressive overload training, right? And just like really, really trying to improve on the number side of things, tracking the data, calorie deficit, things like that. This is like pretty standard stuff. And I got myself in really good shape. I was getting stronger, but I also found that I wasn't growing as quickly as I could have been. So I was ultimately training too much. And the fact was, I love training, right? And I was like, I didn't care to, I didn't mind being in the gym for 3 hours, 4 hours a day sometimes, right? So I'd be doing like 4 to 5 sets per exercise, 12 exercises per workout with cardio, and I wouldn't mind it. I love being in the gym. So that's how I trained in the first like probably 7 years of my fitness career, and eventually it got to a point where it started biting me back in the butt because you know, when you train too much, when you do too much volume, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot, because there's you know going to be junk volume that you're going to be training, right? And there's not quality reps anymore. You're not really feeling the muscle work anymore, and you're impairing your recovery. So while that was happening, my growth was very limited, and it was finally that like I had to really like take a step back with the volume, take more rest days, focus on recovery, focus on reducing stress, like physical stress. Then I started to really grow, and that was only literally in the past 3 years that I've decided to take that approach with my training.
Okay. So, and how old are you right now, Jen? Did you say 31?
31, yeah.
Okay. So basically, you know, you've been basically competing in bodybuilding now for about 10 years. So the first, you know, 6 or 7 years, you'd say you kind of made the mistake of doing like too much volume, too much training. But I guess for you, like you said, the second show, you know, you won. So how many shows have you competed in now? Like if you give a ballpark.
I would say like probably 11 to 12.
Okay, so 11 or 12 overall shows. So what did your next several shows go like after winning that that second competition? And actually, before we even get to that, so what was your weight then on stage in that second show that you won?
It was around 160.
Okay, so you'd gone from a 146, you said, to 160. And for those who don't know, like putting on 14 pounds of muscle, like actual muscle mass, like is not easy. You know, anyone can put on 14 pounds, but 14 pounds of like actual muscle mass when you like cut down
I do
is
have to
definitely
put,
a different thing.
you have to put a disclaimer though. It wasn't 14 pounds of lean muscle. I could have dieted a little bit harder, not gonna lie. So I wasn't like the most conditioned guy, but I definitely had really good shape. Like the first show, I dieted extremely hard. Like it was an 8 month prep. And the second show, I didn't diet as hard. I cheated a couple times. I didn't come at my best, but even me not at my best, I still won the whole show. So that really showed my potential, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point too. So, so at this point, you know, your second show, you're probably still like in your early 20s. So, what happened next?
Yeah. So after the second show, I knew in my head like I'm gonna go for my pro card. Like this is it. I have the chance. I'm beating guys who are enhanced. So after that happened, I think that was in 2016, I believe. Yeah, something like 2016 that I won my second show. So 2017, I planned for another show, which was at a higher level. So there's like back then there was 3 levels. There was the regional level. There's the provincial level. So in Canada we have provinces. The provincial level is just like each, I guess what you would consider a state in America. So we had the provincial level, and then once you win provincials, or I think once you place first, then you qualify for nationals. So after I won that regional show in 2016, I qualified for the provincial show in 2017. I still continue to stay natural for that show. I helped on stage, and I competed against guys who were in my height class. So when you're competing as an amateur, the division is divided into multiple different heights. So there's like the class A, which is like the short class, like 5'5" and under. There's class B, which is like 5'6", 5'7", whatever. Class C and so forth. It goes up. So I was in the class A. I think there was like maybe 20 guys in that class. So I won that class, and I transitioned into the overall battle where every winner of each height class competes against each other. So in that class, I did not win, unfortunately, and the reason was I didn't come in condition enough. So my shape, my aesthetics couldn't hold my weight to win the show, and it was because I didn't diet hard enough. I took it for granted. And the guy who did beat me was way more lean, was leaner than me. He worked harder than me. Although he was enhanced, he still beat me. So he was able to win the overall. And then after that show, I did qualify for nationals. So if you win your class, you qualify for nationals. So even though I didn't win the overall, I did qualify for nationals. And then that was 2017. So after nationals in 2018, that was when I decided to join the dark side and try to attempt my pro card at the national show.
Gotcha. Okay. So the national show, so your first one, that was in 2018, you said.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. And that was also in Pittsburgh, correct?
No, so that was in Toronto. So there was a show called Toronto Pro Qualifier,
Okay.
and
Go ahead.
yeah, so that show is like where you can get your pro card. So you compete against So everyone that competes in provincials who place like I think top 3 in either class will qualify for the nationals. And then in order for you to get your pro card at a national show, you got to win your class, you got to win your height class, and you got to win the overall.
Okay. So the Toronto Pro, you went to compete for your pro card for the first time. How did the show go?
Yeah, not. I mean, in my head, not well because I didn't win the pro card that show. And the reason why I was like I told you before, I was overtraining, and I ran my body down. I dieted way too hard, and on top of that, I was taking too many drugs. Right, a lot of PEDs that I had no right taking because honestly, in my head, uh, but prior to taking the PEDs, I was like, I wanted to go, I wanted to go all in on this. I wanted to get my pro card, so I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And in my head, I thought whatever it took meant taking whatever I needed to take to get coming with the best physique possible. Little did I know, and this is because I didn't have the experience, and I didn't have a coach with that experience as well. I was with my older coach, and they're all about natural bodybuilding, so I had to kind of do the research on my own for the PED side of things.
So,
And then,
so really quick, so you made the decision on your own to do that. So you weren't consulting anyone else with like, were you consulting people with like the dosages that you're taking or anything like that?
yeah, I had a couple gym friends.
Okay.
Right, like, I should have hired a coach for it. You know what I mean? Now that I look back at it, it's like I didn't have the right mentorship for it, and that's why I pretty much abused it. Right? I took everything in the kitchen sink, and what happens is when you're taking so much of it, it puts a lot of stress on your body. And when you have that stress and you have the physical stress that you're applying in the gym, the calorie deficit is a stress. You got home related stress, work related stress. All that stress ran my body down, and I just ended up looking extremely skinny and very deflated. And I had to make a certain weight to compete. So I had to compete at 170 pounds back then. And because I was taking so many drugs, my body was so resistant to the weight loss that I had to deplete so hard, cut my calories extremely low, raise my cardio extremely high just to make that weight. So all of that, all those stresses was just so hard on my body that I just ended up looking extremely flat, deflated, skinny. And yeah, I didn't come in my show at the best. And that literally happened. So I competed 4 times that year, right? And I lost every single time. So I was 4 times for my pro card. I tried attempting my pro card 4 times that year, and every single show I lost. And the reason was that exact reason. I put way too much stress on my body. I was overtraining. I was taking too many drugs, and I always ended up just looking too flat, too skinny. And then after that year, I finally learned my lesson. And the next year after that, I gave it another run, and I finally got my pro card in 2019.
Love it, love it. And I want to go there here in a second, but one thing I want to cover as well is obviously you mentioned, you did start taking, performance enhancing drugs at this point, and I think a lot of people think like, oh, well, that's why you get big because you take performance enhancing drugs and don't realize all the work that goes in along with it. So let's go ahead and go through why did you decide to start taking performance enhancing drugs in addition to the training, and what role do steroids play in a bodybuilding career, like in the muscle growth and in performance overall?
Totally. So the reason why I took it, and I told you this earlier, but I never wanted to take drugs. Like I always wanted to stay natural, but it got to a point where I was competing, and eventually I kept climbing up the ladder, getting closer to that pro card. And as I got closer to it, my why, my purpose of why I wanted to take the performance enhancing drugs, just like there was more of a reason for me to actually do it. And I got to a point where I was just getting a lot of feedback from people saying, hey, you should, if you want to get your pro card, this is something you should probably consider and start doing. And like everyone was telling me that, right? So I got to a point where I had a really, deep conversation with myself, told me how bad do I want this pro card? And in my head, like I told myself I really want it. And that was a reason for me to really pursue that direction. But although if I didn't need to take it, I probably would not have taken it. Right, because there does come along with it some repercussions that might affect you down the road in your future life. But that's what it comes down to, right? The pros and cons of things, like how badly do you want to pursue your bodybuilding career? right? Is that something you want to go all in on? Is it just for aesthetics? Is it actually for quality of life? Like these are the things that you can consider when you're trying to incorporate that into your life. But ultimately, for me, it was purpose driven. It was goal driven, right? And if it wasn't that way, I don't recommend people taking it, to be honest.
I love that. I love that purpose and that reason. That obviously this is something that you thought through a lot, right? It wasn't just a rash decision. So, what role have they played in your improvement in your performance?
Yeah. So I was telling you about the first year in 2018, how I abused it. So it actually backfired on me by taking that much. Right. So it definitely will speed up everything that you're doing. Like, it's just going to speed up your recovery. It's going to continue making you get stronger as you diet. So you can get stronger as you continue like depleting yourself. You're going to burn fat faster, build muscle faster. It's honestly, it works. All right. But the thing is, a lot of people think more is better, but more is not better. I've taken less PEDs like last year than I took in 2018, and I've looked like 100 times better. I was way bigger, right? Less stress. I was sleeping better. That's the thing too. Is like when you're dieting and you're taking all this, PEDs, your sleep is horrible. And when your sleep is horrible, you're waking up groggy, or your body doesn't respond. You don't absorb the nutrients properly. Your strength goes down. You're not recovering, right? So that 2018 experience for me was like really good experience because I learned that I didn't need to take as much. So if anyone is out there that wants to consider it, start very, very small, like, and just slowly taper up. Like, don't go all in like I did and just like take everything in kitchen sink, right? Thinking that you have to, because you don't. Like, you can take it very slow, and eventually your body will respond. But as far as like, what you can expect out of it, honestly, if if you are like a man that's over like 35, 40, and your blood work shows that you're low testosterone, I think it's only going to improve your quality of life. And of course, there is other areas or other compounds, sorry, that will have detriment to your health. And I don't recommend that, like the orals, right? There's certain orals that I don't recommend taking because it's toxic to the liver, but also other compounds that are just, bad for the blood, like the blood markers, cholesterol, even just like, that, like toxicity in your kidneys, etc. So I don't recommend taking certain compounds, but if it's just testosterone, I mean, get your blood work done, then you'll really know if it's something you want to add. And if it is, I personally think it will only improve your quality of life.
Love it. Love it how you've really, like I said, thought through this and have that perspective on, when and where to use it. So at this point, you mentioned that 2019, obviously we already shared is when you earned your pro card. So take me through kind of the whole experience leading up to 2019 at the NPC North American Championships in Pittsburgh. So how did you choose that show?
Yeah. So, after compete, I actually did that show in 2018, by the way. So in 2018, I did the Toronto Pro qualifier. I did Vancouver Pro qualifier. Um, I did another pro qualifier. I forgot where it was. But yeah, I also did the Pittsburgh Pro qualifier or the North Americans, and I placed fifth in my class at North Americans. Normally, I'm winning my class. I'm normally like winning my height class, but I got fifth at one, so it was a very humbling experience to say the least. And after that year, we collected a lot more data about my body, about how it responds to nutrition, the PEDs, etc. So 2018, we came at it with a different game plan. So yeah, in 2018, I competed two times at the Vancouver Pro Show or Vancouver Pro Qualifier, and then the North Americans in Pittsburgh. So in Vancouver Pro Qualifier, I came in a little bit fuller than in 2018, but I was still flat. We didn't push the food enough. So I ended up winning my class. I got into the overall, but I got beat out for the pro card that year. And then the reason why I decided to choose North Americans is because in North America, in that show particularly, two pro cards for they give two pro cards for the top two in each class. So you don't have to win the overall to get your pro card. As long as you're top two in your class, which is for me class A, the short guys, then you get your pro card. So I just thought in my head, there is such a good chance for me to get my pro card because I'm usually winning my class to begin with. And that's why I did it in 2018. But because I got fifth, I didn't get my pro card. So, fast forward to 2019, I learned a lot about my body, about how it responds to nutrition, responds to PEDs. Didn't push the PEDs as hard. Ate a little bit more this time, came in a lot fuller, and then yeah, that was literally all I needed to do. If I did that in 2018, I would have been a pro, to be honest. Right. So that's all a learning process, learning experience about, and that's why bodybuilding is like so interesting, because you just learn so much about your body every year. And then that's what I did in 2019. I learned a lot about my body, pushed the food a little bit more, filled out, and I ended up winning my class in North Americans, and winning the overall. And eventually giving me a pro card.
That's incredible to where you were the year before and feeling like, you were regressing, right? Going in the opposite direction to
Yeah.
then coming back and, actually winning the overall title out of, and for those who don't know, like this is a very, very prestigious competition. Like there are a lot of very high level bodybuilding competitors, and John earned first place out of over 200 very serious competitive bodybuilders from all over, and that is obviously an incredible accomplishment. So like what did it feel like at that point to win the overall at such a prestigious competition?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Like I didn't expect to win, because like my track record based on 2018, like placing fifth, and then in the Van Pro show not getting the overall. In my head, I just thought, like, to be honest, I just felt like I didn't have that potential that I thought I had, like climbing up the ladder. Because when I was climbing the ladder, I thought in my head, like, I'm gonna become the best in the world. Like I have the potential to be the best in the world. So that's why I pursued it, because I wanted to be the best in the world. And then defeat after defeat after defeat, it really just brings your morale down. And you just kind of become more of a realistic person. I'm like, do I really have a chance of becoming the best? And in my head, I kept doubting myself every show that I lost. And I was like, is this even worth it anymore? Like I'm getting fifth place now. And in my head, I was like, wow, like I'm putting all this work, all this effort. I thought I was gonna take it to the top level, like, compete at Olympia one day, right? And in my head, it was just like, I just kept losing. So I kept doubting myself, just kept, having second thoughts if I actually wanted to pursue this. And then I had a one-on-one talk with myself. I told myself, 2019, this is the last year I'm going to keep going for my pro card. If I don't get it, I'm going to retire, because
Mhm.
it wasn't worth taking all the PEDs. It wasn't worth sacrificing so much of my energy, my time, social life, everything. Right. So that's the conversation I had with myself in 2019. And yeah, so I competed, won my pro card, and honestly, I didn't, like I said, I didn't expect it. But the fact that I won my pro card, but not just won my pro card, I won the overall. That reignited my why again. That reignited my I guess that gave me that affirmation that yes, I do belong here. Yes, I do belong to pursue this. Yes, I want to continue on making it to the Olympia stage. And after winning that, it was like it gave me that realization that I was still on the right track, still on the right path.
I love that story. I love that journey. You literally were about to retire and not even do it all together if you hadn't earned your pro card. And obviously, those who don't know, like the amount of time, energy, effort, and focus is very, very high in order to achieve something like this. So obviously, that's something that John was weighing. And then, even one thing that you heard, you say as well is that, like, I think a lot of people, even who are just like trying to lose weight for just health purposes or just for their families, like, John even struggles with the same thing about motivation. Like, is it worth it? So no matter what level you're at, that's something that you struggle with.
No matter what level, brother. And like this is actually something I struggled with recently. Like after my pro card, I personally let myself go. And although I know what I'm doing, although I've built the discipline in the past, I am human, and I fall back to bad tendencies sometimes, right? Laziness and like I wasn't productive. And in 2020, I pretty much let myself go. And although there was an excuse because we were locked down, I shouldn't have used it as an excuse. I shouldn't have developed that victim mindset. So what happened was in 2020, when we did get locked down, um, I just kind of gave myself the excuse to just ease off the gas a little bit, right? Just relax. What am I gonna do? Like I can't go out, so I'm just gonna relax a little bit and having that mindset and falling into that victim mentality of not being able to have control is what led me to developing those bad habits of eating junk food, of skipping my workouts, and of sleeping in, of being unproductive. And that's literally kind of what happened in 2020. And I gained like 40 pounds in 2 months from just literally being lazy, right? Just like eating all the junk food. And it was because, prior to 2020, I got my pro card in 2019. I grinded my ass off for like years through bodybuilding, trying to get that pro card. So in my head, I felt like it was a little bit justified to kind of ease off the gas a little bit. And I'm not saying that easing off the gas is a bad thing, but when you let that snowball and when you let kind of develop that mindset of just, constantly relaxing, and if it snowballs for like a month or two beyond that, you're at a point where it's almost like very hard to return. And that's what happened. It was very difficult for me to get back into that consistent disciplined lifestyle that I had in 2018, 2019. So I carried that excess weight of 40 pounds from 2020 until the end of 2021, December.
Wait, so hold on. So from December, so basically like lockdowns, that was March of 2020.
Yeah.
And then you carried an extra 40 pounds until the end of not only 2020, but 2021, you're saying?
Yeah. So I gained 40 pounds from March and April. And I went from, I think, 200 to 240. And then from April until December 2021, I literally was 240, like the whole entire time. And like I tried losing it, but because I didn't because I developed such lazy habits, I start my diet, I would stop my diet, I would start, stop, and that literally snowballed from 2020 until the end of 2021.
So basically you're saying a year and 9 months you did this for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow. And then you came back in 2022 and then were placing high in pro shows. Like what reignited you? Like what was there something that triggered you to just like that reignited you at that point, end of 2021?
Yeah. To be honest, it was I was just, I was waking up every day with no purpose. Right. That during 2020, 2021 has zero purpose. And although I was coaching clients, one of my purpose is to coach my clients and lead them. A part of me felt like I was an imposter. Right. I wasn't leading by example. And I got to a point where, I felt like a fraud coaching my clients. And then I was tired, I was lazy, I was unproductive. And then I got to a point where I was like, I need to reignite my purpose again. I need to reignite my reason to wake up in the morning to tackle all my goals and really take my life seriously. And then during 2021, there was very limited competitions, right? And I find that competition brings out the best in me. I think it brings out the best in a lot of people, to be honest. Sports do, right? So that's why I knew that if I decided to commit to another bodybuilding show, it would reignite everything. It would bring back that passion for me that I had back in 2018, 2019 to live more of a healthy lifestyle, be disciplined with my diet. And that's what I did. So in 2022, I was looking at the shows. There's a show in Vancouver where I live. I'm like, I'm going to plan for that one. Hired my coach. He got me on a meal plan. And once I knew that there was a show in mind, everything got locked in. Everything just flipped. For some reason, when it comes down to competition, I'm very competitive. I want to win. That literally just like sparked the fire up my ass. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to lose. I'm going to go all in this. And after that, from January to July, I lost 60 pounds.
Wow. So from January 2022 to July 2022, you lost 60 pounds.
60 pounds.
Okay. So you went from 240 to 180.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy cow. So take us through that process. Like, what was that process like of losing 60 pounds?
Yeah, man, it was difficult in the beginning because like I said, I was like, there's so much to go. There's so much behind the scenes that I went through, but yeah, the hardest part was just like getting myself back into that routine of like tracking my water intake, tracking my food, hitting the gym consistently. I was like on and off in the gym for like a year and a half, right? So getting back my footing with the fitness lifestyle was very difficult. But after like a month or two, I finally just kind of slowly started picking up momentum again, right? Didn't skip my meals. And eventually I got to a point where I was building momentum. I started to lose some weight. in the beginning, first like 3 months, I barely saw any changes. My weight stayed the same, like very, very minimal weight loss. And I don't know why. My body just wasn't responding. And I looked very fat. I was very discouraged in the beginning. And then, yeah, after 3 months, all of a sudden, my body just started clicking, right? And then I just like didn't skip a beat. I was waking up early, doing fasted cardio, meal prepping, finally back into a good routine again. And then, like I said, just really, my body just really started clicking. I started to check off every one of the boxes. And after March, like I saw my body start to change weekly and eventually started to change daily. And then as I got closer, about 8 weeks out, that's when I really saw like, whoa, I actually have a really good, potential at winning this thing now. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like shift gears, go even harder. I mean, not like hard in the sense of training, but just mindset wise. I wasn't gonna let anything get in my way. And a big part of how I made that very successful for me was just properly time managing everything. Like every little hour of my day had to be calculated for, and that's what brought me back to more of that disciplined lifestyle, was having my everything scheduled hour by hour so that I could check off those boxes. Because if I didn't do my cardio, then and if I didn't meal prep, everything else in the day would just be scattered. I wouldn't get things done. And that's how I created such success, was just having everything mapped out from the hour I woke up to the hour I slept, and then just checking off those boxes, making sure I didn't skip a beat.
Let's go through that right now. I think that that's really incredible, that you disciplined yourself that way. So let's even look at like right now, like what does a day in the life look like for you? Like what time are you getting up? Like what time are you going to bed? Like what are you eating during the day? Like what does your training look like? Let's kind of go through that.
Yeah. So not gonna lie, after last year's competition, I just I kind of started to prioritize other things in my life. I guess, coaching clients, things like that. So the schedule did kind of change a bit. But once I'm in prep, it's like, things are locked in. So as far as like, let's say if I like I'm in prep now actually. So as far as my schedule goes, like I'll usually wake up around, 6 to 7 a.m. Usually 6 a.m. to get my faster cardio in. I'll start my day at around 7 a.m. as far as meal prepping goes. So I'll get my faster cardio in at 6, be back home by 7, start meal prepping from 7 until like 8. And then after 8, I'll have all my meals prepped for the day. I'll respond to some clients from the day before. And then yeah, from like 9 a.m. until I would say like 5 p.m. I'll have like meetings and things like that, work. As a coach, I am also on social media, so I'm creating content, things like that. Just working throughout the day, and then pretty much after a day of work, I will be I'll go to the gym, get my training session in. So I'll do fasted cardio in the morning, meal prep, work from 9 to 5, gym at 6ish, 6 to 8 I'll gym, and then at the end I'll have my dinner after gym, and I'll usually try to be in bed by like 10 yeah, around 10 p.m.
Got it. Got it. So what does it, so like for you right now, take us through like what are you eating in a day? Like how many calories are you at right now? And like what kind of foods are you eating right now?
Yeah, so as far as calories goes, I'm not too sure to be honest. I'm just following a meal plan that my coach provide me. I didn't really do the calculations, but I'm usually eating 6 meals a day right now, and protein sources are chicken, sirloin steak, eggs, egg whites, protein powder, and then carb sources just rice right now. And then I'll usually have like 3 meals with veggies. Um, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. So 6 meals with all those different sources.
Love it. And what does your training look like right now? Like how many days per week are you training? Like what do your splits look like?
Yeah. As far as the training goes, 5 days a week. I used to be in the gym like in 2018, 2019. I was like training 7 days a week. And it was because one, I was obsessed, and two, I thought I needed to work harder because I wanted that pro card, right? But little did I know I was about to shoot myself in the foot. So now I really started prioritizing rest. So I'm only training 5 days a week, give myself 2 rest days. Before I was training, 10, 12 exercises per workout. Now I'm doing maybe like 5 to 6 exercises per workout, 2 working sets per exercise. Before it was like 3 to 4 working sets per exercise. So really reduced my volume, reduced, yeah, just overall volume, so I can focus on recovery, but putting in more intent and quality behind my sets. So just really slow time under tension, right? It's not just moving the weight from point A to point B, feeling the muscle work from every inch, every centimeter of that movement. And I've been focusing more on that lately instead of progressive overload. I am still progressive overloading where I see fit in the exercise I can, without sacrificing form, without sacrificing muscle engagement, stimulation. Um, and that's how my training has been lately. It's just more so just, mind muscle connection, getting the muscle to actually function, work without compensating with other muscle groups, and then adding weight or reps where I see fit that won't compromise the foundation of muscle engagement and like form.
Love it. So what are you training for right now? Like when is your next competition?
Yeah, I haven't really publicly announced it, but I guess I'll do that here.
Oh,
My
okay.
next show is going to be the Vancouver Pro Show. So
Okay.
I'm gonna give it another run. I placed second last year, so I was one qualification away, or one spot away from the qualification for Olympia. So I'm gonna give it another run, and I just love competing in my hometown because I get to invite my friends, my family. They get to support me. Last year it was a pretty epic battle between me and this in the first place guy, because the first place guy, he actually placed top 5 in the 2019 Olympia. So he's really good, right?
Right.
So he came here to compete, and he's like a Chinese guy. So he literally there's like a city in Vancouver or in British Columbia called Richmond, and it's pretty much Chinatown of BC, and he pretty much got all of Richmond to come support him, and like they're all fans of him, right? Because he's from China, he's like this big name. So he had all of Richmond come to support him, and then because this is my hometown, I got all of my friends, all my family to come support me. So it was like epic battle of like everyone in that was supporting me versus everyone that was supporting him, like just an epic shouting battle in the audience, and like it was just like a one-on-one battle. So that was a pretty cool experience. Um, but yeah, that's why I love competing in Vancouver, because I get to bring that support and bring that energy, right? It's a really fun experience.
Love it. Love it. Well, we appreciate you announcing that here. When is the Vancouver Pro? Is that in July, you said?
Yeah, July, I think 15.
Got it. Got it. So what is your weight? You said your weight right now, you're a little over 200.
210. Yeah. So I have about I think I'm 16 weeks out, 16 weeks to lose 30 pounds. About 2 pounds a week. It's not bad.
Okay. So you want to come in right around 180 again?
I'll have to be. If I'm over 180, then I can't compete.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
have
the
to.
weight class.
Yeah. Otherwise I'd have to compete in bodybuilding. And I'm way too small for that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So what are just we talked about that. Like, what are just your goals in general moving forward? Like, what do you hope to achieve?
Yeah. So I have 2 goals. One goal is to, qualify for the Olympia this year. That's gonna be this year. Last year I was very close. Um, And second goal is, just continue impacting people's lives. Transform. I want to continue to transform, thousands of people's lives by the time I'm finished coaching. So that's a big goal of mine. Continue expanding on my coaching career, continue elevating my services as a coach, and then of course, establishing myself as one of the best bodybuilders on the planet, or best classic physique competitors on the planet.
Love it. So through this all, like if someone's listening to this right now, like no matter where they are on their fitness journey, let's say maybe they're struggling a little bit right now to get some momentum, they're maybe stuck. What did through everything you've been through, like what are maybe your top couple pieces of advice for this person?
If they're stuck,
Yeah.
definitely hire a coach. Like this is the easiest way for you to fast track your progress, to collect information that you need to really get unstuck, honestly. And I the one thing I regret was not hiring a coach sooner, because I know a lot of people spend years. Some of my clients have spent 10 years doing shit on their own, walking around in circles. And that's 10 years of your life that you wasted in the kitchen, in the gym, trying to figure things out on your own, right? And for me, it was only a year, but I saw the value investing into a coach. And after that first year, I finally understood how to approach my diet, how to approach my workouts, continue to get, better progress, get 6-pack abs for the first time in my life. Although, the year prior to that, doing things on my own, no matter how much cardio I did, no matter how much chicken and broccoli I ate, I never actually got the 6-pack abs. So the moment I hired a coach, finally understood the science of it, of calorie deficit, etc., implementing that, I finally got 6-pack abs for the first time after my year of not being able to do it on my own, right? So that's why if you are like stuck, if you want to just save yourself the time, save yourself money, to be honest. You know, you're spending all this money on groceries, you're spending all this money on a gym membership, uh, you know, everything else that you need expenses to supplement your results. All of that's going to go to waste if you're not actually getting results, right? So, like the hiring a coach is probably one of the best investments you can make, and that's why for me, I value mentorship so much. Like anytime that I need help with something, I would find ways to find a mentor to help me figure it out. Because the fastest way to get there is just associating yourself with someone who has already done it.
I love that. I love that. You know, and that's why I personally have a coach as well, and I've had one for multiple years now, even though I'm a coach too, because I think it, you know, really helps, like you said, kind of shortcut that process and really teach you more. So, I want to finish on two questions. So, first question is, where can people find out more about you?
Yeah. So I have an Instagram page. It is Jaws, JAWS underscore IFBB Pro. That's my main social media platform. I will be starting a YouTube as well. That is going to be my next. I have a TikTok as well. It's Jaws Fit, JAWSFIT. That one is slowly building up, but primarily on Instagram. We're gonna start YouTube eventually, start documenting my prep, and then document my journey up until you know, the Olympia stage. So those are the main platforms you can find me on.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, definitely make sure to check those out. And last question we always finish with is, when it's all said and done, let's say, you know, we're fast forwarding, it's the end of your life. You've achieved everything that you've wanted to achieve in life. You've impacted all the people you've wanted to impact. How do you want to be remembered?
It's a good question. I mean, just like any other legend, I want to be someone that has left a footprint on this earth, someone who has created, you know, a wave of change, whether that is to inspire you to, you know, take up fitness to transform your life, whether that is to pursue your purpose, pursue your passion, right? Going all in on where you want to be that will lead you to happiness ultimately, right? Because there's a lot of people I think out there that are just falling into their comfort zones. They don't realize what kind of potential they really have to pursue a path in their lives that will create way more happiness, a better quality of life. And I think people are just scared to take that leap of faith, right? So I want to inspire. I want to be that person that inspires people to take that leap of faith. Someone who can be purpose driven, right? And that was for me how my whole life unfolded. Right, it was all about purpose, all about creating happiness in my life and impacting people's lives. So I want to eventually, you know, on my deathbed, have that level of impact and change around the world where people will be inspired to go after what they want.
I love that. I love that. Well, such a good story that you have, and we appreciate your time today, John.
I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.